Welcome to Recruiting is No Joke. I'm your host, Joel Alge. Welcome. I'm super excited today. We have a great guest. He's bringing not just hot takes, but he's bringing his own music, his own setup. This is a friend of mine, a mentor, someone I look up to not only in the recruitment space, but also in the podcast space. I have Adam Posner, the host of the podcast, CEO of NHP Talent, and he's doing a bunch of other stuff. So Adam, welcome to the show. Good to have you here. Just keep going.
What's up, man? Yeah. I have a rider. I just bring my own music wherever I go. I need only green M&Ms in the green room and only red colored light bulbs. Yeah.
I love that, man. Well, that's why I brought you on, because we've tried this podcast like 3 times. And I think last time we did it, we had technical issues. It was all over the place.
You had technical issues.
I had I'm probably having technical issues again.
No.
But it's good to have you here. What did I miss? What's one thing that people should know about you before we get into today's topics?
That I sometimes overuse the
Rick Ross. That's that Rick Ross sound. Remember that? Balls. There we go. The crickets.
What is one thing? Oh, they're all on. Look at that. We'll just bring the sound down there now. What is one thing that people don't know about me is that I always try to wear a black shirt when I do interviews. Dude. And the reason of that is kind of consistency. Sometimes a long sleeve, sometimes a short sleeve. I also think it's thinning. I mean, I'm not as swole as you, but for me, I got to keep it slimming on camera. And also when I go to the angle shot too, it's a good work. Because when I do my show, sometimes I do the Howard Stern mic kind of handhold. That's my move here. Yeah. And I just like it in black. Well, Joel, I'm happy to be here. I like this format. I'm obviously a big fan of you two. I saw you two at the Sphere. They were fantastic. There's my dad joke of the day. Let's get to it. What are we doing here?
Let me before we go. So you host the podcast. So what episode are you on the podcast?
There's a difference between recorded and aired. I've recorded up to about 360 and I've aired about 346.
Come on. See, this is consistency. I'm on I think this is episode 63 or 64.
Keep going.
Keep on going, man. So I learned from guys like you. So let's hop into today's content. And for any of you guys who have seen some of these episodes, this is what we do. We just look at what's actually trending in our space. What are some dumb takes on LinkedIn? What are some things that people are saying on other platforms as well? And we jump in. So the first post I want to talk about is right here. This is from a recruitment expert called Glenn Cathy. So shout out to Glenn. Definitely a true thought leader in the recruitment space.
This guy's been around the block here.
He's not sharing memes, okay? Because
look at that formatting.
Look at that. This is clearly written by ChatGPT.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second too. I think that what people need to really do, I could smell it. Most people could smell it these days. You cannot take ChatGPT as gospel. You have to wordsmith it. You have to make it more human. So take it, use it, edit it, but don't freaking put it out there like it's yours. And, okay, all right, let's look at this post.
Well, the irony, though, is this is a post about
ChatGPT.
When job seekers are using ChatGPT. And basically, what he's saying is there's a couple of risks. Number one, there's homogenization. Yeah.
Homogenization, also known as.
It's like science class. So basically, just saying, like these AI posts, all these resumes are just going to look the same, right? So it's almost like there's these tools which are helping you tailor your resume to these jobs. But what happens with everybody's doing that, our resume is going to look the same. And then he said the second part is if you're matching from inaccurate job descriptions, which we've both been in recruiting to know long enough, you do not just take a job description and then go and look for people. You got to have a chat with the hiring manager because 90% of what they're looking for isn't even on the job description because it's just a copy and pasted document. So he's also saying, with all of these job descriptions that are inaccurate, you've got these two huge problems. So resumes that look the same, and then resumes that are based on job descriptions that are inaccurate. And then he kind of basically says the future is AI generated resumes with AI, ranking systems. And so it's just this huge AI culmination, right? So I'm curious from your point of view. I know you've probably seen me. I work with an AI auto apply. So what are your thoughts with these auto apply tools?
Well, there's a few different things to unpack here. First and foremost, I think that the real problem is that so many folks are over relying, as I said before, the AI is gospel. It is not gospel. And you have to be very mindful of, especially if it's pulling in from a job description and you don't have those skills, we are going to smoke you out in 2 seconds as a good recruiter. And the worst thing you could do as a candidate is falsify. Listen, we all embellish here and there, but at least we have that core set of experience. We know what we're talking about. We know what we're doing. The problem is in this downturn market with so many folks out of work that they're getting desperate and they're trying things and anything to make their life easier, quicker, more efficient. We're turning candidates into spray and pray recruiters themselves. The very thing that we get accused of spamming people, they're doing the same. And it's just causing a waste of time and making the pipeline even more filled with garbage candidates. And I mean that sincerely. I don't mean that garbage people. I mean garbage candidates that are unqualified. When you're falsifying what you're doing. Now, listen, if you're looking for it to help amplify, wordsmith, find some of those key little niche elements in it that you have the experience for, I'm all for it. Now, the AI apply, I think that there's a balance to that too. And you have to break that down also, that it's not just applying to every broad stroke, generalized kind of job description that might fit 50%. But if you are setting it up the right way and you're being very specific and the check marks and the boxes and everything that you're doing, then I'm all for that. Just be mindful about managing your own expectations as a candidate when you're not hearing back and you're getting rejections.
Look, I say that a lot of the videos I do for this company, that's what I say. I say, this is not a hack to get a job, because when you apply to a job, you don't get a job. You get a job interview, hopefully, a screening call. So that's point number 1. And then number 2, part of the reason I work with this company specifically is because they limit it to 50 a week, which sounds like a lot, but
that's 10 a day. That's 10 a day. That's not terrible.
It's not terrible. Not compared to Lazy Apply, which is like 1,000.
Lazy Apply.
The Lazy Apply. And one of the things I do, work with the CEO, and we talk about what are some things that could be helpful. So we actually he designed it, but we kind of, we're just talking, and I became like somewhat of like an advisor in some ways, but he developed a resume bank. And what that is like you have bullet points. So maybe you have 20 bullet points in this resume bank, and then the AI will pick which bullets, which are all your experience, would be like the best fit for the
see
job,
that I like. If it's taking your current resume, and it's looking at the job description and saying what from your actual experience will resonate the most based on it, that I like. That I'll go with.
I like that. I mean, I don't know if Glenn did use AI here. A couple of giveaways would be these like emojis and then just the way it looks. But it's the same with content, right? Like if we're just using AI to do everything and you're not editing it, you're not using it, it's just a framework, I think you miss. And he makes that. He says, similarly, bland AI generated text. So it's just like, if you just could get these boring resumes that all look the same, how are you going to stand out? How many,
what was the engagement on this post?
Well, I liked it, so that probably boosted it. No, he got 53 likes, 21 comments. So he's not, and what I love too is you can tell he's not in a pod because he's got like actual real, no one's podding this type of content.
Yeah, no. The podding content is all like hire for character, train for skill, and I have nothing to do with recruiting in my life.
All right, well, going in that vein, is that the right word? The vein?
Yeah, direction.
Direct. Let's go in that direction. Friend of ours, you might recognize this guy. He is what's it? Realistic recruiting. He jumped on TikTok, started building a platform. Didn't know that my name was the Realist Recruiter. I had it light.
He's realistic.
But he's realistic.
You're the realist, but he's the most realistic.
Yeah, he's just realistic.
You get it.
Yeah, I get confused with real estate recruiter as well. Like I get a lot of all my paid ads,
or like John Krasinski, John Kraske.
He maxed that out on Threads. That was awesome. Well, let's just see this post from Mike, and then curious to get your take on it. All right, I'm gonna let this play.
Let the music play.
Sounds like he's got washing up going in the background. Favorite piece of advice is doing his clothes.
But I like that. Just wait for it. And I love that his hair. He just doesn't give a shit. Well, look at that. People are just posting. This is coming from the tilapia. It's coming from these posts. Tilapia. It's just auto-generated, and people take the trending post. It's already written, and they just post it. It's lazy. Look at this. It's awful. And also notice where most of the comments are coming from. Most of them are not US based.
Gafanza Bank? That's in my local hometown. So let's just read this post here. I gotta find a full one of it. So for anyone who is just listening, go to YouTube and you can see how ridiculous these posts are. Basically, our friend Mike playing a video of this post that's been going kind of viral on LinkedIn, but it just says a salary increase makes you happy once a year. A healthy workplace keeps you happy throughout the year.
This is just the platitudes. These are just the fucking viral posts that just.
This is so good. This is why LinkedIn is so good. So what, like when you see stuff like this, and I'm not gonna name call anybody, but we've all seen these, right? You've got the hire for attitude. Was it hire for attitude?
Train for skill.
Then you've got
we're more than our jobs.
What was the one that was trending last year, and then there was a fight over who came up with it? It was like 99% of jobs can be taught. Give people a chance.
Give people all that we're saying is give people a chance, right? Like all that we're saying. I mean, there's a couple things in play here. I mean, listen, this is social media, and there's a lot of tools out there that are basically creating. They use AI, and they pick the topics du jour. They use ChatGPT and other tools to wordsmith it to make it as viral as possible. To use virality scoring, synthesize it, make it a succinct, choppy post. You could tell also by the hashtags also that all these posts are coming from one generated platform that these people are using. A lot of them are free tools also. And I remember experimenting when one of them came out about 3 or 4 years ago, where it literally gave you the post to write. And all you had to do was schedule it. This is lazy. This is terrible. But if you're looking at the comment at the post itself, a salary increase makes you happy once a year. Well, not always. But a healthy workplace keeps you happy throughout the year. Like, you're playing onto so many trends there. It's so corny. And Mike Mike calls it how it is. And by the way, I love when you two battle on that.
And you know some of my posts. Like I was for a while I was posting a lot of I was using LinkedIn templates and kind of posting one-liners, and
that's all right. You got to move the needle.
Yeah, and look, I
do images and memes now every once in a while when I feel it. Right, I need to get a little bump here and there.
But I think if you're gonna take this strategy, don't just copy and paste.
Well, that guy made it bold right there. Hayata.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's probably just like the caps lock. Is that? Well, I guess you're just copy and pasting it. But does content like this, does this take away credibility from LinkedIn? Like, do you think most normal people are like just seeing these types of posts and they're just going, "What is going on with LinkedIn?" Then you have like a core group of creators there.
Yeah.
Like, what's your thoughts?
LinkedIn's a cesspool, right? And I think there's a couple of big creators to blame for that. And they basically created this idea of like engagement and commenting. They basically train people to comment on the top creators' posts. And people are like lemmings. They fell for it, right? Everyone's bowing at the great temple of Welsh, right? Like everyone's, out there following this plan to succeed. You have to do this to be bow down to Welsh. And it's just caused a cesspool. So people and this is where the problem is for us recruiters. Let's go a little bit deeper. A lot of recruiters, we mine our candidates on LinkedIn. And if the
what do you mean mine? Just for anyone who's not a recruiter,
my sourcing. Sorry, I source most of my candidates on LinkedIn. I'm very, very good at sourcing on LinkedIn and other platforms too. But if my candidates aren't on LinkedIn and they're not engaged, yes, I use tools to get their personal email and email them directly. But the same thing with InMails. People are just disenchanted with the platform because what it's turned into. It's the attention economy right now. You know this. You're a master of this. You're a master of the attention. You're great at it too. So that's what people are trying to go for, right? They're trying to go for the eyeballs and the likes and the views. But then what's the payoff? Most of this stuff has no payoff. They're just posting it for empty engagement.
Let me ask you this. How many followers do you have?
CTA on it? About 40,000, 41,000.
And how long did it take you to grow to that following?
I mean, I've been on this platform since 05, 06.
And you started creating content, 5 years ago?
About 5-6 years ago.
5-6 years
right.
ago.
Yeah, and I stayed in my lane though. I never played the basic part of my friends, the basic bitch game on here, or the placating. I put the content out there that I want to resonate with the right people. The other problem is people play the connection game on LinkedIn. When you see people come in and they're here for a year and they already have 31,000, you just maxed it out and you connected with everybody just to have that number. And I'm very mindful of that.
How much of your business as a business owner comes from just, would you attribute to like LinkedIn content or just being on LinkedIn?
Well, there's two separate things. I think being on LinkedIn, because I'm a recruiter, that's where it comes from. Podcast content goes on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
It's a tremendous platform for me, business relationships and doing it the right way. I would say at least 80%.
And who are some of the people you've had on your podcast for anyone who doesn't know your podcast?
Oh, geez. I mean, let's talk marketing legends, Bozeman St. John, Gary Vaynerchuk, talk famous people, Kevin Smith, Chris Jericho. Coming out this Friday, I don't know when this is going to air, but coming out on Friday, the 2nd, will be Angelique Vendette, the former global head of marketing for Alo Yoga. So for me,
you didn't even mention Grant Cardone. He's probably really upset about that.
right? You know, one of the weirdest interviews, but you know, but it's honestly, the show really is about like, so for what people don't realize is that yes, the show is thought leadership. It's showcasing, you know, these amazing folks. And for me, it reflects back, right? It helps position me as a thought leader. I share that content. So when I share content from a specific podcast that people are engaging with, it really care. When you look at these posts that go viral, it's the easiest, lamest, basic content. Now, with that being said, we shouldn't exclude the fact that some people are here for that. Yeah. Some people just want lightheartedness. So you kind of have to weigh both sides of it.
Look, and the only reason I brought up the guests as well was because I mean, you didn't start off with those guests, right? Like you built up to that. I
started with my Rolodex, yeah.
You built up to that point, but then also with LinkedIn, one of the things that you taught me was it's a quality game. And I had to actually, I was one of those people who there was a really big influencer when I started that was, we'll just say their name was Ray Doughbottom. Probably gave it away, but anyway, this person was like, "Yeah,
Nay
Doughbottom." But basically, this person was like, "You got to connect to 30,000 people as quickly as possible." And I just started creating content. I'm like, "Yeah, okay, that's what I have to do." Now, what I've had to do is I have to go in and actually, I culled all of those connections. Cold means I've removed all those connections, and now I have 30,000 connections, but they're all recruitment, talent acquisition, HR, leaders,
fine-tune that,
or individual contributors.
But you want them to see your content.
But that's what the network is, right? Because that those are the people. So now, okay, I got to get brand deals and sponsors, but it's because my big following and my big connections are all in the recruitment space. But you built that way strategically, and that's,
you got to do it. And it's fun. You learned your lesson though, and you fixed the error. You found the error of your ways, and you're mindful about who you're connecting with. So that way, when we go for brand deals, one of the things I always pitch is like I did a reverse lookup a year ago on my profile, and I can tell you, I'm just making this number up, I have 500 at least VP level people, talent leaders at big companies, plus I have 4,000 recruiters. Like, who do you want to talk to? That's in my network. So if you could go to your sponsor and pitch that as your qualified audience instead of just saying, I have 300,000 followers. You know, who cares if 90% of them are from halfway around the world? That's not who that sponsor wants to talk to.
It's huge too. And I think if you're somebody who is looking to get into content creation and you're looking to sell it or monetize it at any level, and there's levels to like how you can monetize. Like I know people who are doing, friend of mine locally is partnering with like Amazon Prime. So he's doing huge deals, but he's got millions and millions of followers, right? But you can monetize if you can just say, hey, I've got 5,000 to 10,000 of the ideal person, especially in B2B space. And that's valuable nowadays because there is that attention economy. But I think too many people get sidetracked with viral content for viral content's sake. And then it's, hey, I got 300,000 followers. And then you look through and you're like, none of these people are even people that really even want to, like, this brand wants to reach, right?
No.
And that's why
I mean, if you're selling a CPG product and you could say that 90% of my 300,000 followers are US-based females who have a passion for sports, leisure, health, and wellness, then I'm going to go after Alo Yoga and say that's my audience. But that's not the case on LinkedIn.
It's not.
You can't hyper that. But what I can do is hyper connect and be focused on who those people are as far as their profession and titles, and then market that to the sponsors. That's the approach.
Yeah, I love that. And again, it's like when you have a business on the back end of it, that's what's most important. I think a lot of people are getting into this, like the business is coaching to help you grow your profile. And
it's coaching for coaching. Teach me how to sell courses to sell courses.
And it's not even just on LinkedIn. I see this on TikTok. I see it. And interestingly enough, right now, a lot of the TikTok coaches, they're really worried because a ban just went in effect. And imagine, there's one guy in particular that I know, really, really cool guy, built a business, so coaching on TikTok. And now I'm seeing his Instagram and he's like, I'm so lost. I don't even know where to go because I've got 500,000 followers on TikTok. They could all go overnight. And again, I think a lot of us, it's like, it's good to know how to grow on these platforms, but think about like what business are you going to have that's going to be around in 10 years?
It's relationships.
Relationships.
That's why I take it offline. That's why we go to events. That's why we connect. That's why we have friends in the industry. When we roll into these events, Joel, we have a crew. We have people that support us and endorse us and recommend us, and we take it offline. I mean, that's the biggest fear. I look at some of these people that put all their eggs in the LinkedIn coaching basket. What if Microsoft tomorrow is like, you know what? LinkedIn is just not putting up the numbers that we need right now. Let's just hit that off button. Or, oh, look at Glassdoor creeping up on us. Maybe we should change our whole platform and remove all. Well, I mean, what about X right now? They're removing likes and everything on there.
What would happen on LinkedIn? I've kind of lost a little bit of interest in X. You know,
I've
been doing more of now threading. For some reason, the engagement's just been better, but I think it's tied to Instagram. But I think the point is here is it's just there's ways to do things, and it's just looking deeper than just likes and going viral. And I think the people I respect the most who are able to grow followings aren't just talking about growing followings. It's like
I can't stand LinkedIn content for LinkedIn content. I mean, right?
And we have some friends. I know some really great people, and I'm friends with them. And I think this is, when people are talking more about like strategy, I love that, right? Like really trying to figure out what's your brand and what's your message. And they're trying to get to the heart of like who you are and communicating that. But when it's just like hacks and comment on these people and do this, that's when I just lose interest.
But I mean, the same thing, like the trend hoppers that all of a sudden become experts. Like right now, like the cool thing is to be the AI expert, right? The AI. And like, here's the thing about that, right? You're only talking about one part of AI, which is like the copy and everything too. Like you keep talking about that too, but AI is really machine learning and advanced machine learning and ML and all that too. And like, what do you?
Yeah, they're talking more of like
in ChatGPT.
Yeah, they're talking more of like that language, what do they call it? The
language
large
model,
language model,
LLM, ALM, MLM, whatever. Like, but like it gets boring. I'm bored. I'm bored of your content. Bored.
Yeah. Well, and I'm not gonna if you're making money, great. But there's a friend of ours who keeps posting saying people aren't making money doing it. But all right, I think the viewers get it. We love LinkedIn, and we also dislike LinkedIn. No, we
to that point too. I mean, I've been spending a lot more time on Glassdoor. It's the anti-LinkedIn, and it's a great platform because one, is anonymous, and people there are asking.
You're talking about Fishbowl.
Glassdoor.
Oh, Glassdoor.
I'm talking about Glassdoor, which owns Fishbowl. We'll get to in a second, but the Glassdoor platform is a competitor to LinkedIn. Fishbowl is the audio platform, and Kevin and I host a show there, and it's really interesting because I'm able to engage with folks as an expert recruiter. I'm not looking to sell them anything. I'm just giving them straight advice.
Yeah.
And they welcome it, and they're raw, and it's real, and no one's trying to sell shit to you on there. So LinkedIn better watch out. Glassdoor is coming for you.
Interesting. I don't know if I've heard that take too many times, but
because it's a very early hot take. I am calling it early right now. Right, look out for Glassdoor.
We'll come back to this episode. All right, I'm gonna play this next clip. It's about one of my favorite topics, so you're gonna love this. Do you know this guy? He's like a big deal. He's
Jamie
a
Dimon.
big deal. Yeah, he's kind of a big deal. But sometimes big deals, sometimes they are saying things for a different motive. So this was from TikTok. I think it's who is this? It's Wall Street Journal. Can't get more businessy. Look how businessy this is right now. So I'm going to share this clip. You guys will hear it. And then if any of you guys who want to see it, you can hop over to my TikTok or you can go to this YouTube channel as well. So here we go.
In the office. 5 is ideal. Are America's down?
So let me get this straight. The CEO of Chase that has over $1.4 trillion worth of loans for commercial real estate out, they want you back in the office 5 days a week.
Shocker.
What a coincidence. Wonder why you want people back in the office so bad.
So quick one, right? This is just an ongoing debate, and I feel like there's just always talking points. Mm-hmm. Where are you at? Number one, where are you at with this whole remote work hybrid situation? Where are your clients at? What are you seeing? What's trending? Mm-hmm. And then what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, so it's interesting too. So obviously Jamie Dimon has ulterior motives here.
$1.4 trillion
real estate. They want people back in the office because that's going to crash. It's an interesting take, and I'm going to level this one up to just a very 30,000 foot view on it. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I believe that it comes down to employers trusting the people they hire to get the job done wherever they are, right? It comes down to that, right? Do you have trust the people that you hired? Now, I do feel, because I grew up in a time and place where I have such valuable lessons I learned from being in an office, especially as a younger employee. I learned how to
But you're only 22 right now.
Exactly. How to act and operate as a professional. Yeah. Watch my mentors in action with clients. I was in the ad industry too, and the ability to sit there in a pitch meeting and watch these titans just stand up there and sell and pitch and be in the creative room and all that. You do lose a lot of that element in the creative world. Now, with that being said, I like when employers give choices and they give reasons behind it too. I have some clients right now that are truly hybrid and they're very clear on it. For example, one of my clients is 3 days a week in the office, but your choice of what days those are. And they have a whole Flex Friday kind of thing also.
Cool.
No one complains about that. And when I'm recruiting for it, it's the first thing I say in the job description. It's the first thing I say on the call. The problem with that is, one, there's some people that are very, obviously accustomed to this point of being home. And I'm also finding, guess what? A lot of people want to go back to an office. They're done being home. And there's another bias too that I am freaking tired of. We're assuming when we're saying everybody wants to work remotely and work from home, you're assuming that everybody has a good work environment. You're assuming that everybody lives in the burbs and they got 4 bedrooms and an extra office there. I don't.
Five.
Hold on. I have to rent an office because I don't have enough room in my house that my expensive house in Long Island here that I pay $20,000.
Don't you have a pool though?
Right? Yeah, I do have a pool, the Paz pool. But here's the other thing too. What about those people that live in like an urban area and there's a lot of people in the house? There's elderly relatives that are taken care of and they got kids running around there too. It's not the ideal work environment. So ultimately it comes down to choice, it comes down to trust, and it comes down to options. And I think that's really what it's all about. I'm kind of over this hot take of control. I think it's a real thing in some cases, but I think people are pushing the polarizing side of it. I think people just want people back in an office. Yes, I think sometimes it justifies real estate costs. There's a lot of money out there, a lot of invested. They're like, all right, we got $1 billion and a zillion square feet. What the hell are we using it for?
Yeah.
But give people a choice. So there's no black and white here. It's completely gray, completely specific to industry, what you do. Yes, level too. But the one thing that I like to see about companies, especially this client, that 3-day-a-week rule, that's for everybody, including the CEO. And this is a long-standing enterprise-level organization. And I think there's literally one exception in the whole company to that rule.
Well, I was going to ask you, like, when you think about younger Paz, it's a 5 days a week necessary, or do you think you could have still gotten a lot of that interaction in like 3 days?
No, I think 3 or 4 days. 3 or 4 days would have been great.
Because there is an element
because you have aligned meetings, right?
Yeah,
you're like, all right, everyone's gonna be in on Tuesdays. We're gonna aim for Tuesdays, and we're gonna have our group meetings. We're gonna go out for lunches. You miss that. You cannot, and I swear by this, and I'll fucking die on my sword of this. The majority of people need human connection. We can't just be working in silos behind our screens forever.
Yeah, look,
there's an energy.
Obviously, I'm remote, but I also run my own business. But I'm debating on, and I've won. I have a decent sized house, but I got 3 kids under 5. I got a 6-month-old. The kids are running around. I schedule this podcast at this time to record because they're napping. So I have like windows that I can do things, and I've kind of learned those windows. But then I also think like there's just what social level are you at as well? Like where are you at like from a life perspective, and what do you need
mentally.
Socially? Because
people need it.
You got people who are graduating college. If I was just graduating college, I wouldn't want remote work. I just think that would be super lonely. And it's like I got questions, I want to ask those things. Flip side too, if my kids were all out of the house, then I'd be more willing to kind of go. And so I love that choice piece as well.
Options.
I think some of these CEOs, like what they're, because we just had the Nike CEO, and this was on a past episode. Where
say productivity.
The remote work it's caused our failure in our business, or it was like the remote work has stifled innovation. And then even this, you got to be in the office 5 days a week. And I think there's this element of like, look, I get it, you don't want to like sell out and just let everyone go remotely, but it's that balance, right? Like surely it's a
balance. It's a balance. And the companies again that I see successful as a recruiter are the ones that offer choices.
Do you think people just as a whole in our society are really getting away from? Because I feel there was a time where like hustle culture was huge, and just working till you burn out was like a thing. Are you seeing less and less of that when you're talking?
No, I'm seeing more of it. I mean, you look at
you're seeing more of it.
A little bit too. And let me tell you something. I am a massive proponent of hard work. You would not be where we are today if we didn't bust our ass and have that drive and do it. But most people honestly don't. Most people, they're very complacent. I mean, we're talking about the masses. Not everyone has the drive that we do. We're alphas, we're extroverts, we're out there, we're business leaders. But most people don't, and they don't always have that, right? Like, so I think that there's an element of this virality on social media where they see these people having this insane TikTok and especially like the beauty, the hot chicks, the buff dudes out there. What are they doing? Right? Like they're just optics, and they see these numbers, and that's what kids want. I look at my kids on the YouTube and they're looking at Mr. Beast, and I mean, he's a different beast, pun intended, but like they're looking at these creators like, oh, I could do that too. And I think there is a business model there too, but we have to lay the foundation and values of what hard work is. And my wife and I do that with our kids. I want them to lead by example. They see mom and dad busting their ass.
Yeah.
They see mom in the office till 7:00, dad running all around, like doing events and working and networking and everything. It takes work. When it comes to the hustle culture, I don't knock Hormozi's posts a lot of the times because I believe in that guy got to where he is because He put in the hard work.
A lot of people have been saying though he's kind of like getting off track, or he's just like there was something trending like
I don't think he's writing a lot of his posts anymore.
Like okay.
No, honestly, man, I think that these big creatives, I think they have a lot of other people writing shit for them, and they don't even see what's out there. I think that's another big thing that you have to really understand too. Like some people just understand their tone of voice, and they're so busy that they don't give a shit about LinkedIn. I'd be surprised if he's really checking his LinkedIn daily.
Oh yeah, I think he said a while ago it was like he only really is like Twitter is the one that he actually writes, which I think
they're just posting shit, man, and they're hiring these teams of people to manage their profile. Big business on LinkedIn, managing the profile.
Yeah, it's
I'll never hand the keys over, man.
Well, I guess okay, you're always gonna have. Obviously, you can always have the people who are hustling hard, but you don't think that there's a chance that there's other people who are just like that middle ground of people that you're saying are like want that balance and are going, all right, maybe work doesn't need to be a priority. You think that kind of group is growing?
Yeah, I do. I think that people are really understanding what's important to them, and I think that was the blessing of the pandemic. It all caused us to really think what's important. And I also want people to remember, too, that this pandemic obviously came out of nowhere. And we were pretty much working in an office. Some people were lucky where I could work from home a day or two a week. Like they were the lucky ones. But this wasn't planned. Like there was a thing. I also believe that this was a revolution we needed to open up eyes, that there are alternative ways to work.
Yeah.
But it's not a blanket answer. That's what I'm trying to get at. There is not a one-size-fit-all answer to work from home. And that's why I freaking troll on people that put out these platitudes about that.
Well, my last guest, it was it'd be 2 episodes before yours. She has a whole team in, and we were discussing like the Nike CEO, and she was like, I agree with him. And so she's got a startup in San Francisco, and they are in the office 5 days a week, sometimes more than that. And I was like, well, how does that help with recruiting? She's like, well, actually, it can be helpful. She's like, but we just do a good job at communicating that throughout the interview process. And she's like, yeah, we find people who want to do that. And sometimes we don't get as many top of funnel candidates, but the ones we do, it's like they see in the office, then they already know that, right? And
let's get it out of the way.
And these are just things to think about. And I'm like, well, who are the type of people you're hiring? And it's like young engineers, they don't care. They're in the Bay Area. They want to go into the office because they want to learn. And
they're sitting in small, little, tiny, freaking expensive apartments in the Bay Area, and they don't want to sit behind you know what I mean? They some people want to go to an office. It gets them out of their house. But
well, and I think like this is why it's important to like have those balanced conversations around it too. And like I know my posts tend to skew more around remote work, but if you actually look deeper, they're always about like knowing. It's exactly what you said. Like, can you trust your people to be productive where they need to get productive? Exactly. And if you know your job requires you to be, if you're a nurse and you think you're going to do your job remotely, unless you're in telehealth.
Yeah, like, I mean, let's be real. I want my doctor to be on site.
Right? Yeah. Although that could be changing with AI. But anyway, okay, we're going to look at our last piece today because I know we're going to kind of running out of time here. So I don't have the original post. The post got taken down because they were trolled so hard. Ooh. So I want to talk about a few things.
You have a screenshot of it?
With this post. I don't even have a screenshot. I have a reaction to the post.
What's the post?
So the post basically, I'll read this post. This is a reaction to the post. So it says, I just saw a post from a recruiter who was telling people, if you want Mark Zuckerberg, don't wear a hoodie to an interview. This attitude isn't just silly. Don't get me wrong. It's very, very silly, but it's also exclusionary and discriminatory. You don't ever wear a hoodie. Here's one example. So anyway, I'm not going to go through this whole reaction post, but basically the post was, basically, I think they were actually joking, the original poster, and they have a following, which I think if you have a following, you got to be careful with what you're joking about. Yeah.
I learned that the hard way years ago. But they basically said
they were just like, I think it was like a off the cuff type post, and they were like, unless you're Mark Zuckerberg, don't wear a sweatshirt to an interview, ha ha ha. And then of course
we have to go during
the recruiter police. Mm-hmm. The recruiter police jumped on it. There's certain creators that jumped on it, and they're my friends. That's okay. But by the way, I'm trying to stay away from a lot of like the random drama on LinkedIn that happens.
Me too. It's not good for the brand. It's not a good brand look.
Well, then we have. I won't show this other video. There's no point. But I'm not going to show the other video because we get the point. I'm curious. Is that bad advice?
Well,
let's
unpack it too, right? So let's talk pre-pandemic. Let's go back to that again. When you went in for an interview, Joel, did you try to be as physically presentable as possible?
Yeah.
Okay, right.
Yeah, I want a good first impression.
Right, exactly. So yes, we're working remote. I'm telling you too, when I get on video calls with people, it's interesting. Like I'm always wearing a hat, right? So how could I tell somebody, another candidate, but like you want to put your best foot forward. However way you interpret that, and you want to take the risk one way or another, that's up to you. That's kind of the way I see it, right? Yeah. Depending on the job. If I'm recruiting for a creative job, I mean, I'm not looking to see a creative director in suits and boots, or, her in like,
three-piece,
like, dressed to the nines. But like, it comes down to this. Just be presentable.
Well, it's like, I think one of the comments that set it off was like, tell me you haven't been in tech recruiting without telling me. That was kind of like the comment that set everything alight. But I'm thinking like, look, this is a responsibility as recruiters. Like I know when I was recruiting recruiters and HR people, even if it was on Zoom, I would usually just set the precedent of whatever the culture is of the company. I mean, I recruited for some investment firms.
Yeah.
You show up in a hoodie to an investment firm.
Show up for the culture that they have there, right? Like get a sense of like a finance job. You're going to roll in a sweatshirt and a hoodie? No. And how am I supposed to know that you're neurodivergent? And I'm all for like supporting that, but like unless you're clear with me up front in the interview and be like, I'm diagnosed and neurodivergent, and I'm just giving you a heads up that I wear this red sweatshirt every time because this makes me feel the most comfortable with what I have. Okay, thanks for telling me that. But if I don't know that, I'm going to judge you on that.
Yeah, and even as a recruiter, even if you know that, you're going to try and give the best advice you can. Just say, hey, like, look, the culture here this is probably
buttoned up.
That might be something that they look at, and I could give them a heads up. I can do my best to like advocate for you, but it's kind of the culture. This is what they're looking for. But what I find I think worse in some ways is, what are your thoughts on like the recruiter police on LinkedIn?
Yeah, I mean the worst one is when someone says like qualifications for a job, and they always jump in. Well, if it's a government job and it's OPCIM and down with OPP, like most people aren't going for recruit or government jobs. Yes, a government job you need to have 100% of the qualifications for compliance and all that bullshit, right? Most people aren't. Yeah. So I hate that comment, right? I'm always like, well, you're a government recruiter. I'm not. Most people are not. And honestly, I give the advice too. I'm like, if you're at least 75, 80% qualified for the job, you should apply. That number was a little bit lower a few years ago, but here's the thing. There's so many people applying for jobs that are out of work that unless you're going to have pretty much no chance, because we have a pick of those qualified on paper.
Well, and the other issues too that I've been running into more is like, I used to be very much like, oh, well, a good recruiter can kind of read between the lines, because I've had to read between the lines sometimes. Like I used to deal in construction, and it was like people just had the worst resumes, but I'd be like, all right, send me your project list. Oh, you built 30 skyscrapers. You can do the job. But what I've also realized is a lot of these teams, recruitment teams, they're just running very lean. And so if you've got a recruiter that's managing 40 to 50 recs, and especially a lot of the recruiters like who are probably paid less are the ones who don't have all the experience. So I think you have to also think about, this is why there is that importance of looking just what language are they using. Like I had a resume client that I just was giving a resume review to. She's applying for customer service jobs, but on her resume it said client relations. And I'm like, you got to stop saying client relations. You got to start saying customer service, because that's the language they're using. She's like, it's the same thing. And I'm like, I get that. You get that. But that recruiter who doesn't really understand, or like maybe just, they're new to the industry or whatever it is, or they're stretched super thin, they put in the keyword customer service, you're not showing up. So anyway, well, look, we're at the end of the show today. I appreciate all of your insights. Where can people find you? Where's the best place to get with the
Yes, connect with me on LinkedIn, Adam J. Posner. If you just put in Adam Posner, you're going to get Aussie Adam, who's a great dude, loyalty marketing. He's my pen pal over there. You can find out more at thepozcast.com, P-O-Z-C-A-S-T, thepozcast.com. And Instagram, go to NHP Talent.
And how often are your podcasts released?
Every Friday. I have not missed a Friday in over 5 years.
Mr. Consistency. I love it. Any events that you're going to, anything on the books that you're going to that people can just
we're looking later this year, potentially Sherm National in Chicago. We're looking at RecFest with you guys in Nashville. That'll be in September. HR Talent Connect, and Tech Week's coming up in June in New York City, early June. Not sure when the show's going to air, but if it airs before that, I'll be at a bunch of events in and around New York City.
Awesome. Well, thanks a lot, man. I appreciate you jumping on the Realist Recruiter podcast. It's not even what it's called. It's called Recruiting is No Joke. I don't even know my own podcast name. I know. I need to get those sound effects too, but it's been awesome. Just want to say thank you for your time. And for everyone else, we will have another episode next week. We got a really great guest talking AI and recruitment. So we will see you guys then. Boom.